We need to talk about what went down with Jade on Thursday. It all started off as a normal day for Jade. She was posting pictures to her Instagram story, talking about how she needed to get a haircut. She couldn't figure out if she wanted to let her hair grow out or cut it short again. And then she ended the night in jail. So this is the arrest details right here, well, the initial arrest report, and this is the arrest narrative that was provided by the Collier County, Naples, Florida Sheriff's Office. The police officer explains that on March 19th, he was assigned to District 4 Road Patrol, and at 11:29 p.m., he ended up getting a call and related to a disturbance, and this was at Chris's house. This is the house that we saw Jade living in on Loveduringlockup, but he ended up kicking her out of the house after they ended up splitting up. The police officer had call notes from the 911 call that referenced a restraining order with an unknown female as the protected party. So the officer ends up pulling up to Chris's house, and he made contact with Felicia Soto, which is Chris's girlfriend, and she explained that she has an active restraining order against Jade. And I guess apparently Chris has been trying to see his son Ozzy for a long time, but Jade insists that she's not going to let Chris see their son until he's sober. It sounds like Jade decided to finally give in and let Chris see his son Ozzy, so she decided to drive Ozzy over to Chris's house. I wonder why she decided to do it at 11:30 at night. Like, why aren't they doing this during the day? But I guess she was not expecting Felicia to be there. And Felicia explained that she had moved in with Chris as of 2 weeks ago. And she has children, so I bet her children are probably living there as well. And I guess her and Chris have been dating for a few months, according to her. It sounds like Jade had no idea that Felicia was there, let alone was living there. And I guess Jade ended up pulling up, and when she pulled up, Felicia decided to walk inside the house as a way to try to disengage and not have to deal with Jade, considering she had a restraining order against Jade. And I guess Jade ended up sitting outside. Chris went outside and was talking to Jade, and Jade ended up snatching Chris's cell phone out of his hand. She called Felicia, and she told her that she needed to pack her shit and get the F out. And then Jade saw Felicia, and she started screaming at her. She started cursing her and yelling at her. And I guess Felicia ended up agreeing to leave. She's like, okay, guys, I'll just leave. Don't worry about me. Felicia tried to leave the house. She was trying to back out of the driveway, and I guess Jade walked back up to the truck and started screaming at her and cursing at her again. And Felicia said at this time she felt in fear of her safety. And they ended up talking to Chris, and they asked Chris what was going on, and he said that Jade came to the house to so he could spend time with his son Ozzy. And Chris was asked if he saw Jade yelling at Felicia, and he ended up sticking up for Jade and said, nope, I didn't see anything at all. Maybe he didn't see anything, but it just sounds like he was keeping his mouth quiet because he didn't want to see anybody get in trouble. When police asked Chris who Felicia was to him, he initially said that Felicia was just a friend, but then he turned around and said that they had been living together as of recently, and they've been together for around 2 months. And he said that he attempted to keep the peace in order to see his son Ozzy. And then they talked to Jade. She said that her and Chris were going through a divorce and he wanted to see his son, so she decided to pull up and let him see Ozzy, but she had no idea that Felicia would be at the residence. But she acted confused when she was asked about the verbal altercation. She's like, what? Everything between me and Felicia was completely cordial. But then the police officer noticed that there was a ring camera on the house, and this was the actual same ring camera that they used to pull footage when Chris was arrested for his DUI. And when they noticed the ring camera, they pulled the footage, and they noticed that at 11:32 p.m. Felicia and Chris were walking outside to the truck in the driveway for Felicia to leave. And I'm assuming this is after Jade called Felicia and told her to get the F out. And a female voice came from behind the vehicle, and you can hear her yelling, yeah, that's right, take your shit, bitch. And then the female approached the truck as it was pulling out of the driveway, and she started twerking in front of it, and she was motioning to her genitals. And it should be noted that the female was holding a crying child, so the baby was all upset, stressed out, and here she is holding the baby as she's screaming and cussing this lady out. Like, come on, you can't be doing this stuff around around the child. The child's going to grow up and think that's normal for relationships to be like that, or co-parenting relationships to be like that. And the female was identified as Jade, and when they asked her about the camera, she said, I don't give a F what is on the camera. This is my house. I hate saying this, but I think something like this needs to happen with Jade, because you have to learn that sometimes you just gotta walk away and just keep your mouth quiet. Not every fight is worth it, especially when that person has an active restraining order against you and you have your child in your hands. And it explains in the narrative that the Naples Jail Center confirmed that the active protection order has been in effect since February 24th and was served to Jade on February 25th, and the order is still in effect until resolution at a later court date. Based on a totality of circumstances, I found that Jade willingly and wantonly, I don't know how to say that, disregarding the order, ineffective with knowledge that she is to refrain from knowingly and intentionally coming within 100 feet of petitioner's motor vehicle, whether or not that vehicle is occupied, and telephoning, contacting, or communicating with petitioner. Like, she could have easily said, oh, I didn't know that Felicia was there. She would have called the cops on her. I feel like Jade's going to come out and try to make it sound like Chris and Felicia were just trying to set her up and send her to jail. But it sounds like they were really trying to work with her. Felicia was trying to drive off. I agree that Felicia shouldn't have been there to begin with, especially since this is the first time that Chris has seen the child. He should have just left that between him and the child until like a later date when Jade understands that Felicia's going to be around, and maybe let them meet each other and work that out before just surprising Jade with Felicia. But she could have easily, I feel like in my opinion, gotten away with it if she just would have got the baby, told Chris, look, I'm not comfortable with Felicia being here. I'm barely comfortable with you being with Ozzy. So just make sure that she leaves, and then just let her leave, and then just let him see the baby for a while. If anything, she should have been like, okay, let me stay here to make sure she doesn't come back or something. But there's no need to cuss at the lady. You could have easily said, oh, I didn't know she was going to be there. But you knowingly called her phone, and there was proof of that, and then you stayed there and had to sit there and cuss her out in the vehicle and twerk and do all that extra shit, where she broke the restraining order multiple times. And I mean, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, I just accidentally ran up to the vehicle and started cussing her out, or I just accidentally called her. And I guess they ended up placing Jade under arrest after they realized that she had violated the restraining order that was put in place. She was arrested for contempt of court for violating an injunction of stalking, and they ended up talking to Felicia since she was the victim, and they ended up giving her a victim's right brochure and a Vine form to complete, and they ended up transporting Jade to the local jail without any further incident, and she is still currently behind bars at this time. This is the jail that I'm being told that she is at as of right now. I'm not able to find her mugshot or any bond details at this time. I haven't requested the body cam because I know someone else that has already requested it, and I'm sure they'll have no issue with me reacting to the body cam once they do get it, because they've been open with sharing everything else with me. And I do want to give a shout out to Sarcasm, because they were the ones that originally broke the news about Jade's arrest this morning. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think. I can already see it now. Like I said, Jade's gonna get out. She's gonna go live with her sister, probably drunk as hell, cussing out Chris and saying that he's never going to see Ozzy again, and she's probably going to blame Chris and Felicia and claim they set her up. But I mean, in the black and white right here, it says that she knowingly started the drama, and I think a lot of it just has to do with how Jade has been her whole life. She's just gotten away with talking crazy to people, talking about people's kids, and taking things to absolute hell when she gets upset. And you just gotta learn that not all fights are worth it, especially when it involves children and children are around. But you guys let me know what you think about all this in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.